It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Happy New Week, everyone. I'm Jeff Parles. New week for us. Final 2 days of July. Welcome back, Alex.
Thank you. That's right. I'm Alex White. Looking forward to today. A lot of action already with the trade deadline for MLB. Looking forward to seeing what happens today as well.
Yeah, deadline 6 o'clock Eastern time today for the Major League Baseball trade deadline. The White Sox, by the way, congratulations to Keith's White Sox for clinching an under 500 record before July even ends. Congratulations, Keith. It's an accomplishment. It's an accomplishment. The full 120. You know what? We'll talk about the White Sox and more today on the show. Of course, we'll also get the AFC East. But first, we got to get our starting five here on the show this morning, as we always do, swooshing across the screen, as always. And we begin in Philadelphia, where the Yankees' bats have come alive the last four games. They find a way to just annihilate the Phillies. Like they took it to Wheeler, of all guys, yesterday in a blowout victory over Philadelphia. Big-time pitching matchup today here in Philly. Gerrit Cole, Aaron Nola, your pitching matchup. Phillies actually still favored, -116 to -110 behind us right now. Total up there at 9.5. How about that there in Philadelphia? And Phillies, first five, 33 out of 46 games on the first five for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Moving to the West Coast, number 2 on the starting five, Dodgers and Padres. This is the first of a 2-game series here. Another good pitching matchup. Tyler Glasnow for the Dodgers, Matt Waldron for the Padres. The bettors like the Padres. You've kind of missed the best number now. Dodgers -126 currently. Total 7.5 runs in this one. Padres right now 5-3 lead in this season series between the two.
Dodgers right now leading the Padres by 6.5 games in the National League National League West. Apparently, we're moving San Diego to the Central now this morning here on the show. Number 3, American League Central against NL East in New York. The Mets really took it to the Twins. Twins just don't like playing in the city of New York, Alex. Mets even have owned them over the 25 games they played against each other in their existence. Mets with Manaea actually getting bet against with Festa for the Twins, -133 to -124 in New York behind us. Right now in the National League wild card race, it is a jumbled 6 right now. 6 teams, including these Mets, within 2.5 games of each other for the 3 playoff spots. Mets currently sitting in the 5 slot for the National League playoffs.
Don't know if I agree with that move with Festa on the mound, but we'll get to that soon. Number 4 in the starting five, Red Sox take game 1. Another impressive win, 14-7. Overs actually 11-1 yesterday, so a ton of runs scored in the major league. Seattle starts with Luis Castillo, Boston, James Paxton. Mariners are a small $1.12 favorite in this one. Very high total at Fenway, though. We've got 10 on the board. Boston 31-17 to the over in their last 48 games.
That's Paxton's return to Boston.
That's right.
So his first start in his second stint there at the Fens. Again, Red Sox right now, 1 game behind Kansas City for the final wild card in the American League. Astros and Mariners in a virtual tie right now in the AL West. And then number 5 on the show today, as we mentioned, plenty of baseball to get to. The Buffalo Bills, Alex White with the kicker jersey, Tyler Bass, and the Bills. And we may even get to the Miami Dolphins today. So it might be 2 of the 3 betting favorites in the AFC East, a jumbled top-heavy AFC East based off the division odds this year. Sorry, New England. We'll get you later in the week, but may not be the Patriots here yet again. And that's your starting 5 here on a Tuesday morning. By the way, we're somewhat, not quite matching, but we both have blue this morning.
Very blue set.
Yours was more intentional than mine. Mine was just like, oh, today's the good day for the poll. Even though I will say, actually, it was really nice here in Vegas yesterday. It was only 101 degrees, which is much nicer than 111 that we've been having over the last month or so. All right,
good news. That's great news for some of us who work at the ballpark going into a nice 6-game homestand. So
yeah, it's actually going to be probably by the time first pitch rolls around, it might even be in the 90s tonight up there in at Vegas Ballpark.
That's right. So if you're in Vegas, come check it out in Summerlin, Las Vegas Ballpark.
Yeah, you might even see well, not might even. If you go, you will see Alex White out and about at the Las Vegas ballpark over the next few days. All right, let's get into some baseball here today on the big league side. Real quick, just throwing this out there. There were 2 games in the NL that have a team has not named a starter yet. Chris and company did put a line out for the Cubs and the Reds. Cubs are minus 126. We know Justin Steele will start. We don't know who's starting for Cincinnati just yet. Total 9 on that. And then the Braves and the Brewers, there is no starter for Milwaukee. So there is no line behind us right now. Bryce Elder is going to start for the Braves. So no line on that one. We'll await that again. Atlanta, they salvaged the final 2 in New York after looking real bad out of the All-Star break. Currently, the number 1 wild card Brewers still in control in the NL Central. Alex, let's go to Arizona next. How about that comeback by the Diamondbacks last night? 5 in the 9th, down 8-2 after 6.5. Come back and stun Washington to move a half game within the Padres and the Mets in the NL wildcard chase. It's Patrick Corbin Day. Always some fun for some bettors. Nats, plus 152 on the take back, minus 165 on Arizona. Total of 9 for the Diamondbacks, who also yesterday, Christian Walker left the game with an injury, so not good news there for arguably their best hitter.
Nothing for me in this one, unfortunately. I would like to fade Patrick Corbin, but he has been better as of late. Last 3 starts, xFIP 2.64, so that is pretty good for him. Not terrible on the road either. His median is 7 hits. Earned runs is 4 here. So not a lot for me with Ryan Nelson on the other side. I didn't think we had a huge advantage, but I do think the bookmakers have that 165 correct, and that total looks just right here at 9.
Yeah, this is nothing for me. Arizona just has found a way to stay in. They've found a way to stay in, did not play particularly well earlier in the month. And here they are, a half game out of the postseason, leading both St. Louis and Pittsburgh by a game and a half for the first team out honors in the National League. Let's go to a game I know you have multiple leans or plays on here today, Alex White, and that's the matchup you brought up in the starting 5. The Dodgers taking on the San Diego Padres there at Petco Park. Glasnow and Waldron, good pitching matchup. Padres, plus 116 home dog, minus 126 on LA. Total 7.5 on this one, Alex.
So I do like the Padres here getting plus money. I know Glasnow is Tyler Glasnow, but he has struggled in his last 3 starts. 4.84 xFIB in those 3 starts. So 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 walks, 2 earned runs against the Giants. Not terrible. Game before that, 6 innings pitched, 5 earned runs at home versus the Brewers. His last 2 road starts right here, 5 earned runs in both of those. Yankees on 8 hits, Giants on 7. Matt Waldron, median at home, 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, just 1 walk and 6 strikeouts. So I like that plus money there. You kind of missed the best of it. I jumped in at plus 122. But I also think there's another way you can play this, and that is looking at the under in the first 5. I do think we could keep this under. Let me find on this sheet, though, what the actual numbers. It is sitting up 4 here at South Point, minus 110. I like that angle as well.
Yeah, 4 and a 7.5. You don't get that as much as you used to, Alex, because a lot of those 7.5s now get shaded to 3.5 first 5.
Yep.
I would follow you on that first 5. That would be the only way I'd look to do it. The Padres really have just played some incredible baseball other than last night since the All-Star break. They took 2 out of 3 from Baltimore, went to Washington, swept them, took 2 out of 3 from Cleveland. They've been doing it all on the road. So a 7-2 out of the break run with a 9-game road trip to the East Coast. Very impressive for San Diego. But again, return home and get arguably the NL's best. So it'll be a nice test for San Diego. But as you said, Padres lead the season series right now. And this is one of those weird shorter series as well going into the week. Day baseball in Detroit, Alex. Cleveland and the Tigers. Williams and Holton, not very intriguing pitching matchup. I will say this, I'm a little perplexed by the way this game is moved more so than anything, where Cleveland opened minus 155 and the market is just all over the Tigers. All the way down to minus 130 on Cleveland, from plus 145 to plus 120 on Detroit. So if you're looking for the Tigers, the value has been sucked out here. Total 8.5, just the juice has moved, minus 115 to minus 1.25. So the books don't want to go to 8 flat on this game, Alex.
No, they don't. I I would wait on this one and lean more towards the Guardians, if anything, and wait for the best number. Not a whole lot of value there. Waldron has been really good, whip 0.88. But on the flip side, Williams has 2. Batting averages in his last 3 games, a little bit scary, though. They're 263, his opponent. So not a lot, but the Guardians have been figuring out ways to get those wins. They've been a very big surprise this year and have been consistent throughout the entire season.
The Tigers, again, the trade deadline is today. There's been a lot of talk of the top 2 Tigers pitchers being potentially moved. And that's Jack Flaherty and Tarik Skubal. Skubal, by the way, I don't know how we forgot to mention this. If Tarik Skubal gets traded to the National League in the middle of the year, his AL Cy Young prospects are done. So that was always one risk you were running if you managed to bet him, if he managed to get dealt in that Cy Young market. I don't think Skubal's going to get moved today. I really don't. I think Flaherty's the more likely name to get moved just because of the package it would take to get Skubal where he's under control for another 2 years as well. I mean, you're talking about top prospects galore, maybe even a guy who's in the majors already, maybe 2 for anyone. With that said, there should be some teams that are attempting their best to get Skubal today. I do think Flaherty goes by the deadline today. I think that's the big Tiger that could be on the move and impact pennant races moving forward, Alex. I know the Astros are in on him before trading for Yusei Kikuchi yesterday.
I know we did bring that up. Maybe not a whole lot, but we did talk about that with Skubal. The Flaherty side, we'll have to look it up on our break, but I did hear something on the radio about what he was asking for. If he does get traded, he wants a guarantee. If he's pitching in the postseason, he's asking for a lot. So it's kind of made it a little bit harder for teams when they're already just trying to make these deals, right? And then a guaranteed. So we'll find out that exact number here, but very interesting for this Tigers team, and I don't know. We'll see which one of these pitchers does end up going.
Skubal, Flaherty there. Of course, the White Sox, Crochet and Robert, the 2 big names that could be on the move today. Crochet, another guy. I saw that this thing you just brought up there, Alex, I saw he was asking that as well.
Maybe that is who it was.
If he were to
that's it.
Pitch in the postseason, he's on a strict innings limit if he stays in Chicago, which means his season will be done in the next 3 weeks, which might be merciful for him. He doesn't have to deal with his own team. But look, there could be a bunch of good names on the move today. The Tampa Bay Rays are the intriguing one to watch. Already moving a few pieces here at the deadline. Maybe Yandy Diaz also goes as well. Some guy named Rudy Arozarena, right, Ryan? Rudy Arozarena? Yeah, Randy Arozarena, of course, dealt there earlier in the week to Seattle. And you saw the interesting trade with the Cubs and the Rays where Isaac Paredes was traded to Chicago. A few prospects and Christopher Morel went the other way. A pretty popular player in Chicago. Don't know how good he is, but popular player in Chicago going the other way. But the Rays usually don't miss on guys like that. All right, Alex, let's go to Baltimore next. The Battle of the Bees, Burnes and Bassett at Camden Yards. $2 favorite, the guy who I think should be the AL Cy Young favorite and the Cy Young Award winner, Corbin Burnes. 8.5 the total on this one for the O's and the Jays.
I really think this number is too high on Baltimore here at $2, but I am not betting it. Toronto has been trading a lot as well, so I don't really know what we're going to get out of them. Otherwise, it would be a bet mostly on that number at plus 180 for the Blue Jays.
Bassett, another name that potentially could get moved today. Again, the Jays should be selling. They already are.
Yeah.
They already saw Turner moved, saw Kikuchi moved. The unbelievable package that Houston gave for Kikuchi with 2 of their best prospects going the other way. A little bit surprising there. But I agree with you. If Bassett doesn't get dealt and it is still Bassett, when this game rolls around, that is a very good price on Toronto. Nearly getting $2 whole on that. Going to Boston next, Castillo and Paxton. You mentioned it in the starting 5. Right now, the Red Sox, 1 game out of the playoffs. Mariners tied in the AL West with the Astros. Seattle minus 112 favored with Castillo. Market, though, has bet Boston 9 cents on the move from plus 111 to plus 102 here, Alex.
Another one where I'm going to wait, and I'm glad that I did because I do like the Mariners. I liked them at minus 124. So now here at minus 112, I think that is a great great bet on Seattle. Castillo, his last 3 starts, just 3 earned runs combined in those 3, and that was just in 1 game. So I like him in this spot. I know Paxton is pitching against his old team, and there's a lot going on there, but as long as the Mariners can continue with their bats, which they were able to at least get 7 runs yesterday, but the Red Sox continue to surprise us with that 14-7 win in the first game. But it's definitely a play for Mariners on me. I'm just going to wait for the best number.
The Red Sox, real quick. Again, this is a team that, especially on this desk, did not think high of them going into the year. They've hung in. They've done a great job. Alex Cora has got an extension out of it as well after being a lame duck manager these first few months. Seattle, again, as always, the offense. It's weird seeing a 10. We know why it's a 10. It's at Fenway. It's a summer. It's hot. But when it's all said and done here, this would I'd look the same way. I wait this thing out. I would agree with you. Wait on a better price on Seattle because it may just keep dipping by the time this game starts. 7:00 local. In Chicago tonight, the White Sox not only clinched the under 500 record before July ended, Alex, last night, they also set the record for their longest losing streak in franchise history after threatening to do it 2 other times this year. 15 straight losses tonight. Jonathan Cannon looks to stop the bleeding for the White Sox tonight against Michael Wacha. Royals -190, +175 on the White Sox here, Alex.
It would only be a play for me on the Royals. Maybe I have to do the run line, but kind of have to tread carefully here with the streak that they are on. They are going to eventually win a game, but
you would hope.
Yeah, you would hope. But I think Michael Walker's been just fine. So I do understand that high price on him against this White Sox team, but there's better bets out there than me laying $1.90.
Yeah, there's better bets than just involving the White Sox in anything at this rate. Just finding every which way to lose. I look 40 and 122, right? That's all that's left. Go 13 and 40 the rest of the way. Get the worst record in a 162 game season. Why not at this rate? Make this season worth something. Go for the historic one. Be great when they end up with the 5th pick in the MLB draft because of the draft lottery next year. All right, now let's go to Philadelphia. I know you have something here, Alex. Good pitching matchup. Cole and Nola. Cole got battered his last time out by the Mets. Just couldn't keep the Mets in the ballpark yet again. Nola and the Phillies. Phillies kind of struggled out of the All-Star break. 3-7 in their last 10. Not the same team we saw dominate the first half. Nola's a small favorite here, -110 behind us. Total 9.5. Pretty high total for quality pitchers like this, Alex.
Yeah, it is a pretty high total, but I do think that number is right. I like the Phillies in this one. I really like the Phillies in the first 5. I know that the Yankees, they really got to Zach Wheeler yesterday. I think Aaron Nola will be just fine. I mean, he's 11-4 in his 21 starts, struck out 126 batters, walked just 31. On the flip side, you mentioned it, Gerrit Cole has struggled in his 7 starts since coming back, just 3-2, ERA of 5.4 and a whip of 1.46. So I think there's value here. I think that's a pretty cheap price on the Phillies at -110. I'm going to just go first 5, though. Phillies -115.
The Yankees, as we've documented on this show, the offense has been disastrous over the last 6 weeks since they've had the second worst record in baseball, only the White Sox worse since June 15th. This past weekend maybe was the wake-up of the Yankee offense. 7-11, 8, and 14. In the last 4 games. So their lowest run total has been 7. They're 3-1 in those games. And they quite frankly should have swept Boston. That first game, they totally gave it away late in that 8th inning. Maybe the Yankees have finally turned. Austin Wells is starting to hit as well. So maybe this is the moment where the Yankees turn back. Maybe not quite what they were at the beginning of the year, but at least turn back into a major league offense, which they have not been San Soto and Judge the last month plus.
Now Stanton back, right? Then they added Jazz, who had 2 home runs yesterday. But, yeah, I mean, if they're going to do it, now would be a good time going into August. So
the Yankees, again, right now, if you're looking standings-wise, a half game behind Baltimore. So that AL East race, despite the fact that the Yankees have been as bad as they were over the last 6 weeks, Baltimore did not take full advantage here. Very easily could have had a 4 or 5 game lead, only a half game. Can't let a team hang around, and Baltimore may pay the price with having to play in a wild card series as opposed to getting a bye and winning the American League East for the second consecutive year. Let's go to New York. Let's keep it with the New York team, but let's go up to New York because the Mets are taking on the Twins. Mets just routed Minnesota yesterday 15-2. Just the trend of that over. How about you? Like you said yesterday, only one under yesterday. Pitchers did not have a fun day yesterday across baseball.
You've kind of been teasing that for quite some time now, though, with it getting hotter and paying attention to these numbers.
Well, it's interesting. Well, you know what? Let's go into that real quick as we go through this game. Mets are right away $1.21. Totals 8.5 juiced under here, where we have seen less big numbers than I can remember this day deep into the season, Alex. Because usually by now, like, these are numbers you usually see end of July, August, where there's some really good pitchers going, but they're still 9.5. You have a 10 in Boston where you have one, even though Castillo hasn't been Castillo, he's still looked at as a top flight pitcher. There are still a few more 7.5s, but a lot of those games are indoors or out in the Bay Area. So it was inevitable because under's been a lot better than usual this year. That usually works itself out as we get through the year, Alex.
It's hard. I mean, I wouldn't say the pitching is fantastic, and that is what is causing the unders. It's more just the struggles offensively that we've seen.
100%. And also just the baseball. Like we don't know what baseball they're using still. So for this game, I know I think we're both looking at something similar here in this. Alex, Festa, who's going for the Twins. I'm a little surprised the market has been as eager to back Mr. Festa here today. I
am too, especially with the way that the Mets have been hitting. And this isn't just a flip like the Yankees. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing. Festa, 8.16 ERA. He's only had 3 starts, 1-1 in those. And Sean Manaea he's been good enough for the Mets, I would say. 3.74 ERA. And he's holding his opponents to a 2.4 batting average, or 2.40 batting average. So yeah, I definitely like the Mets in this one. I'm not trying to bet against them. I think -120 is a great price for this team that is continuing to stay hot.
This, other than those 2 games over the weekend where the Mets scored 2 runs in 2 games on Saturday and Sunday, got well shut down by Schwellenbach and then 3 innings of Lopez in the Brave bullpen. The Mets offense still number 1 in baseball since Grimace threw out the first pitch about 6 weeks ago. So this Met offense has been dynamite. They did add Jesse Winker. That was their pickup, at least offensively, for relievers. Mets right now currently in the 5 slot in the National League. Twins currently in the 5 slot in the American League. So currently some second wild cards in this matchup here in Queens here today. Let's go to St. Louis next. Cardinals go in the wrong direction after that good series in Atlanta to begin the second half. Again, Alex, this is just regression of what the numbers we're saying the whole time. Bad run differential. Offense has been weak. Their pitching has been the main reason they've been able to hang in here in 2024. Today, they're going to throw Lance Lynn against Max Scherzer. Cardinals plus 105 at home, -115 on the Rangers. There were some rumbling Scherzer could get moved. I was never really buying that. Texas is staying close enough in the AL West that they should keep some of their pieces. But today I would only look at Texas at -115, Alex. I'm a little surprised that this was an early take of St. Louis here in this one.
I lean to the Cardinals in this one, and I was pretty brutal on Scherzer the last time, and then he had a really good start against the White Sox there. But overall, he's just been a little bit above average. He, of course, still has a higher rating than Lance Lynn on the other side. But, I mean, the Cardinals and the Rangers are kind of similar teams. Like you said about the Cardinals, what the metrics say, and the Rangers have just kind of found ways to win here late in the season. But it's not a huge value play because I just have the Cardinals pretty much have this game as a flip. So leaning towards the home team, getting a little bit of plus money there.
Total 8.5 in St. Louis. Cardinals lose to the Rangers yesterday to run another 1-run losses. Maybe that's coming back to the mean as well on the 1-run losses. Let's go to Houston next. Pirates, big win for Pittsburgh last night. Skeens didn't have his best stuff, but fought through it. And then a big 3-run homer in the 9th inning by Michael A. Taylor to stun Josh Hader and give the Pirates a much-needed win after a series in Arizona where they salvaged the final game but didn't look particularly great doing so. Today, we know Bailey Falter has struggled after Skeen starts this year. It's plus 170 on Falter and the Buccos. Strohs with Hunter Brown, minus 185, a total 8.5, Alex.
Yeah, that is a trend that has been happening with them losing the day after Paul Skeen's throws. Nothing for me in this one. I think that minus 180 is the correct number. 8.5, a little bit of a lean to the over, though. That's about it.
I'll just throw this out there with the Pirates. Again, they've only won once with Falter after Skeen starts. And we were trying to figure out why that might be the case. I think it just may be even Ryan, I guess next time Greg Vaughn is in, this could be a question for him. Just going from a guy who is that electric of stuff to Falter, who is a pretty pedestrian major league starter. It's just, all right, we're not seeing Skeens anymore. This is a little bit easier for us. Part of the reason, I don't know. I think that would be a great question for Greg Vaughn next time he's in with Frank here on Punchlines. Of course, 50 home runs in multiple seasons for our guy, Greg Vaughn.
The old cliche, which my partner at the ballpark, Andy Martello, loves this, but was the ball just looking like a big beach ball out there? So maybe that next day, yeah, could be a thing. We'll ask.
Baseball the size of the watermelon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, something along those lines. You saw Andy Martello here on Punchlines yesterday, by the way. See, we're segueing everything as we can here this morning, Alex. One last baseball game I want to get to. I know this isn't the most intriguing one, but San Francisco and Oakland, the Bay, the last battle of the Bay with the two teams actually in the Bay. Minus 190 on the Giants, plus 175 on the takeback on Oakland. Giants yesterday sell. Jorge Soler gets traded back to Atlanta. Of course, he famously won the MVP of the World Series in 2021. Luke Jackson also went back, a former Brave, now back in Atlanta in that deal as well. Robbie Ray threw 5 no-hit innings in his first start. It was a little bit wayward, but he pitched pretty darn well after the first inning, Alex. With that said, I would have looked at Oakland in this spot. This is too good of a price at plus 175 to get it with the A's, who have mashed. Their offense has been great in the month of July. Yeah,
they really have. I would definitely look to the Athletics as well, plus 175 here. Robbie Ray, I mean, we'll see. If he beats you, so be it, right? But I do think that we're going to see a little bit of a regression to the mean for him, even though it was a very impressive first start back for Robbie Ray. That's a great value price for Oakland here.
Oakland's offense, look, they're not ready to compete, but Brent Rooker right now has the highest OPS in baseball in the month of July that for someone not named Aaron Judge. So he's been awesome. He was a name that we thought might get moved. I would be shocked if he gets moved at the deadline.
Surprisingly, Oakland is not.
No move so far.
Right.
One of two teams that have not made a trade yet at the deadline. Mason Miller, I think Mason Miller breaking his hand might have impacted that just slightly. With breaking his hand, hitting a training table the wrong way. I don't want to do it myself, but that was that I think about it. By the way, Lawrence Butler has just been a revelation since coming up from AAA Vegas for the Athletics as well. So fun young players on that A's team.
It really is, yeah.
Again, they're probably still 2-3 years from being a legitimate threat, but it could be a little bit fun for those folks in Sacramento who get them over the next few years. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get back. Alex White's already ready to go for this. The Buffalo Bills, a new look Bills team at that as well. We'll discuss it when we get back. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in. She's Alex. I'm Jeff. We're thrilled to be with you. We're almost in August, which means we're going to have a ton of football to go through. Of course, you're going to have a very busy week next week as well.
Yes, I am.
Of course, Alex will be featured on multiple panels at Bet Bash next week. Looking forward to that. I know you're excited for it. I know you have a lot of prep work for that as well.
I'm excited. The first one, that's all Chris Andrews. So I'm just get to ask the questions, kind of lead him. And then the second one should be a lot of fun, all-female panel at Bet Bash. So
be on the lookout for that next week. Of course, Spanky puts on an amazing event down there in downtown, down off Fremont Street at Circa. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that for sure next week. All right. We're in the final division. How about that? Remember, I'm just going to throw this out there. Our predictions at the end, we're going to go back at the end of August and see how close we were to what we actually end up doing across the whole thing. Yeah. But we're on the final division, and it is the AFC East. We started with the NFC East, and we make it all full circle back to the AFC East. And there you are, the Buffalo Bills, who've won this division every year since 2020. Look to do it again here in 2024. Plus 170 favorites behind us. The Dolphins and the Jets both at plus 210, and then the New England Patriots have seen better days, to say the very least, at 18-1 to win the AFC East here in 2024, Alex. And it's a good day because we get to start it off, and alphabetically speaking, we actually get given a favor here, where we start off with the betting favorite, with the Buffalo Bills right out of the gate here today.
I do have to ask you, do you remember what the Bills closed as a favorite for this division? Were they odds-on favorite?
Last year, I don't think they were odds-on because remember, last year, Dolphins coming off a playoff berth. Jets were hype machine going into last year, kind of like what they are again this year, even though I think the roster is significantly better. We'll get to the Jets later in the week. But I think Buffalo closed plus 115.
Okay.
They weren't. I don't believe they were odds on last year. I think the odds on was just reserved for Kansas City and San Francisco a year ago, and maybe Philadelphia. Those are the only ones that I think were odds on a year ago. This is a very different looking Buffalo team. Very different looking, Alex. Looking at the departures. Real quick. By the way, Bills minus 175 to make the postseason. Looking at the departures more so than the additions, because the departures tell the story. We only put 3 on the screen because there was just not enough room. Those are just 3 pieces that we picked. Diggs, obviously, the big one goes to Houston, unless if you ask Frank and Nicotero, and then it was the whole NFL before Houston. Gabe Davis goes to Jacksonville. Leonard Floyd goes to San Francisco. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer both leave. Same with Trey White and Dane Jackson. Mitch Morse also gone, replaced by Connor McGovern. So many changes on this Buffalo side. And other than the draft, they didn't really add much, but what's on your screen, and Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, who was their second-round pick, and Connor McGovern on the offensive line, Alex.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, they changed the entire wide receiver room, and you could tell that there was a lot of disconnect with Josh Allen and his receivers. I don't know if it was the entire room so much as Diggs and, hearing those complaints. So I understand wanting to kind of change the vibe and the culture in there. But, I mean, this was a team that was very good offensively, tied for 5th best in the league with drives resulting in touchdowns at 28%, 5th in yards per game, 5th in rushing yards per game, 6th in points per game. So to make this many changes is, I don't know. I have my question marks here. Of course, we know that they do have their 2 really good tight ends, and they like to use the 2 tight end set with Dawson Knox and Dalton Connect, keeping them there. So that is comforting at least, but it's a lot of changes for this offense that was very good in this league.
So remember, midseason, again, Ken Dorsey gets fired. Midseason, they change, and they were middling. They were a middling football team in the middle of the season. Lose that Monday night game to Denver. They fire Dorsey. They come out and destroy the Jets the following week with a run-heavy attack.
Right.
And Joe Brady, who of course was a key cog to LSU's dominant national championship as a quarterback's coach for Joe Burrow in 2019, of course, was with Carolina. That didn't work out. That was the Matt Rule debacle. But I am just in the camp of, for Buffalo, how much of that was real moving to a run-first attack? They were a much better team when they went run-first last year. And as good of a player, and look, Josh Allen is an immense talent. Putting too much on Josh Allen, I think, is just, well, we have seen this now, where Josh Allen just turns the ball over.
Right.
For one calendar year, Josh Allen led the NFL in turnovers from week 9 of the 2022 season to week 9 of the 23 season. He led the NFL in turnovers, and by taking the ball, and it's so weird to say with an elite talented guy, but taking it out of his hands gave Buffalo a second dimension, which made Allen a better quarterback in the second half of the season last year. And that's what I'm really looking forward to more than anything. How much of that offensive change from Joe Brady was real a year ago, and how much of it was just, hey, we just had to do it midstream if we even wanted to make the playoffs. Remember, that was a question at that point last year. Yeah. And, of course, they ended up winning the AFC East and getting the 2 seed anyway.
It's just really tough. I mean, yes, they can win this division, but as we showed up there, I mean, plus 210 on the next 2 teams. This division is really good. So it's going to be hard to just stay at the top once again.
Yeah, these 3 teams at the top are all playoff caliber teams. And quite frankly, with a few breaks, maybe all Super Bowl caliber teams. Maybe. Miami, I still think, is the weakest of the 3, but we'll get to them a little later in the show. Defensively speaking, Alex, I just want to bring this up because they just got battered with injuries. Buffalo did a year ago on the defensive side of the ball. They get Matt Milano back, who missed the majority of the season with a broken leg. Von Miller was never 100% a year ago. You get Ed Oliver fully healthy yet again. Greg Rousseau had a really good year a year ago. But they really had to remake that secondary, as we discussed, replacing all their safeties and all their corners except for Rasul Douglas going into this season.
Which was necessary. I mean, still with all the injuries, they were still pretty good. 18% of opponent drives, which is 10th in the league, 3rd in opponent points per game, 8th in opponent yards per game. So, yeah, I mean, they should just take a step forward, if anything, getting these guys back from injury.
So I just want to ask you a power ratings question before we look at their schedule, Alex, because since Allen and Burrow have really took off together, I know that Buffalo made the AFC title game in 2020. I think that was just more, they took advantage of a weak AFC, got through the playoffs, and then Kansas City beat them. So from 2021 through last year until Joe Burrow got hurt, I thought Cincinnati and Buffalo were flipped power ratings wise. I thought because Buffalo was the betting favorite going into last year to win the Super Bowl. Buffalo was power rated basically as number 1 or number 2 for the majority of the 2022 season. I thought them and Cincinnati were flipped in the way of power ratings. Now, I actually think Buffalo's power rating based off of the week 1 number against Arizona alone, I think we might have come back a little too far on Buffalo's power rating this year.
I'm with I'm with the
You're with the books?
bookmakers, yeah, with where they are and relatively close to the power rating of the Bengals, where both of these teams are close to that mid spot of actually making the playoffs and getting in there. But it is interesting to look at, and if Burrow didn't have those injuries, like I thought you were going to ask me just to compare the two quarterbacks, which is almost impossible to do, right? With Josh Allen, and he can use his legs.
All depends on what your preference is, right?
Exactly. But yeah, so I possibly a little bit, Jeff. We'll see. I mean, looking at the odds for the division, where Buffalo's not favored as much to win these games, but that's pretty big favorite there over these other two really good teams to win this division.
I was surprised at the number to win the AFC East. Again, plus 170, still a 40-cent difference between them and both the Jets and the Dolphins behind us. There's some numbers that are shorter, some that are longer. Really just shop around whatever you want to do with this Bills team. If you look at Buffalo's schedule and their win total, Buffalo sits at 10, which does feel correct to me. It is, again, very hard to go better than 10-7 in this league, as it's been proven. They did win 11 games last year, despite not having their best stuff. Look, we're going to learn a lot early in the season. After week 1, where they are a touchdown favorite right now against Arizona, I mean, until Tennessee in week 7, that is just a brutal stretch. From week 2 through week 6, you get Jacksonville at home, and they'll be favored in that game. Remember, Jacksonville beat them a year ago. Granted, that game was in London, and Jacksonville had this extra week of being in London, which was totally unfair scheduling. But at Miami week 2 on a short week, they play at the Ravens week 4, and then go to the Texans and the Jets back-to-back. That is a brutal 4-game stretch for your first 4 road games this year, Alex. And quite frankly, this is just one of those where, look, even on the back end, it's not an easy schedule. Still have to play Miami and New York again. They get them at home at least. They have to play Kansas City again, the early game where Buffalo usually wins the regular season game and then loses the playoff game. They get the Niners. And then look at that stretch with the Rams and the Lions. This is a really difficult schedule for Buffalo, one of the more difficult ones in the NFL.
It is. And I think that 10 is a little bit too high, actually.
You make it 9 or 9.5?
Yeah. I'm 9.5, definitely. If I was a bookmaker, I'd make it 9.5. But yeah, so I like under that 10 for this team, especially you just pointed out all of those early season tough matchups. And might if you like the over, I would wait, right? And potentially get a better number after a few losses early if they have them.
So we've talked about these in-season win totals a lot, where, again, Buffalo's going to win week 1, barring something surprising. And if they lose week 1, the alarm bells should be going off at that point if they lose to Arizona at home. Even though we think Arizona will be a little bit better, but Buffalo's got to win that game.
Yes.
But with that stretch of week 6, like, they could be 2-4 through 6 games. And then that's a great in-season over.
Yes.
I think we're in agreement there that this is for overs, this might be one of the best one to monitor and see if they get off to a slow start.
If that's what you're looking for and you do like the Bills and their chances this year, then yeah, I would wait on that one.
One last note real quick on the Bills. Josh Allen is 8-1 to win the MVP. Allen has not won the MVP yet. It's basically one of the few regular season accomplishments he has not accomplished so far. If Buffalo wins the AFC East this year, and if they do it with 11 or more wins, I really think it's going to be hard for the voters not to vote Josh Allen this year. And you know that pains me to say that, Alex. But this roster is nowhere near as good as it's been in this run where Buffalo is taking the steps forward and won the division 4 straight seasons now. And with that schedule, if they win 11, I think 11-6 should be enough.
I do too.
It means Allen probably was the best player in the NFL this year. Not saying bet Allen now, but monitor, especially if Buffalo gets off to, like, let's say Buffalo starts 3-0. Definitely monitor, because you might be running out of runway in order to bet Allen there.
I think that's a great point, especially these numbers, that 10, them being the favorite still in this division. A lot of that is the bookmakers. They can't give you too good of a price, right? Because they do have Josh Allen, and we know that his ceiling is really high. There's people that kind of compare him to Patrick Mahomes in the sense of as long as they have Allen, they have a chance to win. He has not proven that to the extent of Patrick Mahomes just yet, but he could have that kind of year, like you said, with this roster. If they do win 11, I definitely think it would be Josh Allen's award.
8-1. Best number I saw on Allen out there was plus 950. So shop, as always, shop around when you're looking for good prices. All right. Anything else we need that we forgot on Buffalo here, Alex?
No, I mean, that Coach of the Year is interesting as well. And I know offshore books have the first coach to get fired. But I am concerned with McDermott and I feel like he's might be getting close to the hot seat here. They put the blame on the offensive coordinator last year. They have their guy. It's Josh Allen. It's not him that's going anywhere, right? And then that's when you see coaches. But so it's either that 60-1 Coach of the Year or the other one looking for odds of him maybe not being in Buffalo.
So I think with Coach of the Year, I'm happy you brought this up, where McDermott's 60-1 right now. I think you're in a scenario with McDermott where it's going to be very hard for him to win Coach of the Year unless Buffalo fires a 14-3 or a 13-4, which I don't think either of us think they're capable of doing this year with their roster and this current schedule. I don't see this franchise firing him midseason. I really don't. But again, those numbers will really populate when the season gets a little closer. Maybe. That is a name to monitor if the price is good. I just have a hard time seeing the Pagulas firing him midseason.
Midseason is a good point.
I just have a hard time seeing, unless
and that's what it is. First coach,
right?
So
and someone's getting fired midseason. It's just a matter of who, more so than anything. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll keep in the AFC East. We'll go to South Beach, Miami Dolphins. They were in the playoffs 2 straight years with no playoff wins, though. Tua got paid and more when we get back. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White alongside. Happy to be with you as always. In the chat, JR from the ballpark, one of our favorites in there as always. Good morning, JR. Thanks for doing that. Keith Lyle's here as well. But Keith Lyle's also legitimately right there. So not only do we get him in the chat, we get him in the flesh just right there. Ken in the chat, go Bills, and then Dean all over Arizona. Taking the 7 week 1 against the Bills.
7, yeah.
Whole seven again for the Cardinals on the road in Western New York, week 1. All right. How about another team that looks a little bit different? Because this team was in cap hell going into this offseason, and that is the Miami Dolphins, who were in the postseason yet again last year, and then beyond frigid conditions in Kansas City did not help the Dolphins in that one. Tua Tagovailoa gets his big mega contract last weekend, and the Dolphins right now sitting at plus 210 to win the AFC East. They did add Jordan Brooks, big-time tackler. They actually helped out their secondary. Did a good job with the amount of money they had, Alex, getting Jordan Poyer in there. They drafted Chop Robinson, signed Odell Beckham. But this is another team. Major losses on both sides of the ball. Andrew Van Ginkel, gone. Xavier Howard, unsigned. Probably, we may not see Howard again due to injury in the league. Robert Hunt, offensive line, big piece, $100 million contract from Carolina. Brandon Jones also in that secondary lost. And then, of course, another $100 million man, Christian Wilkins, off of that defensive line now here in Vegas with the Raiders.
I do think they made the right moves for the secondary, though, and that was one of their biggest concerns, and especially defensively. I mean, this offense, we know they were one of the best in the league. They could outscore anybody. It was just big question marks on the defensive side. Of course, a lot goes into the health, right? Tyrik Hill, Jalen Waddle. At the end of the season, we didn't see both of them on the field together very much. Same thing goes with their duo running back. One of them was injured, Achane, right?
Well, Achane and Mostert.
Mostert, yeah. One of them was injured. I mean, Mostert, I think, played most of the season. But, yeah, so I still really like this offense. I like the additions, too. Odell Beckham Jr., definitely older, and we didn't see a whole lot out of him in Baltimore, but can always help out in offense. And then Jonnu Smith, tight end from the Falcons, comes over as well. So offensively, still stacked, still really like them. Frank Smith is still there, third year as the OC with Mike McDonald as the head coach. And then we'll get into the defensive side as well. But some numbers really quick just to throw out there. Third in points per game, third in yards per game, seventh in rushing yards, second in passing yards, of course, with Tua and his elite wide receivers there.
Just going defensively real quick. Of course, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, their two best pass rushers, both suffered significant injuries in the back half of the season last year. Yep. Chubb tore his ACL, ruptured Achilles for Phillips in that game on Black Friday. So that Dolphin defense was not the same in the back end. And I think the biggest thing with that defense, of course, Vic Fangio's not there anymore. Fangio goes up to Philadelphia. Clearly, there was some disconnect with him and Mike McDaniel throughout the season. Anthony Weaver now takes over as the defensive coordinator. Remember, 2 years ago, they were a bad defense 2 years ago. They did trade for Chubb. Phillips started improving. But I think a lot of their improvement had to do with the way they were coached. And I don't know a lot about what Anthony Weaver is going to do. I know he's going to try to be somewhat similar to what they did a year ago. But losing Wilkins, who, even with those great pass rushers, still to me was their best defensive player. Losing, they're basically getting a new secondary in there, even though they maybe pretty similar, all things considered. Yeah. I have a lot of questions about this defense. And I also have questions about Tua Tagovailoa. Because Tua Tagovailoa, yes, played every game last year, but is 1+ year removed from being shut down because of concussions. He's playing 15 pounds lighter this year than he did last year, which I understand why they're doing that. They're doing that to get him out of the pocket more, be a little more creative with what they can do with Tua. But that scares me for a guy with his injury history. And, of course, obviously, we know his injury history as well, dating back to Alabama. That scares me. And as much as I like Mike White, if Mike White has to play 5-6 games, Miami's in big trouble here. Because as much as we rag on Tua's still a top half quarterback in this league. And for Miami to be a playoff team, a Super Bowl contender, they need a high-end Tua there. I don't know if Tua can ever get to the elite of the elite, but he'd been good enough to get Miami to the postseason for the third straight season, Alex. And I'll tell you, this is a team that I am all over looking to fade every which way for part of that reason that I just mentioned. I don't trust Tua to stay healthy. I don't trust his defense. Plus money to miss the playoffs seems pretty good. Under 9.5 plus money seems pretty good. Even though the way that the books have it behind us, minus 125 on it over, I may see a 10 by the time the season starts, and I'll be rushing to the window if I can get a 10 to bet under on Miami.
So I think we're opposite here.
Yeah.
I'm higher on the Dolphins. I think you're a little bit higher on the Bills going into this season. I trust Tua. I mean, you have to give him some credit, and that change that we saw from 2 years ago after all those concussion scares, what he was able to do, the training he did, he actually gained a lot of weight to protect himself through that. So maybe it's more of just a little bit of a cut from what he had put on going into last year. But I also like the depth that this team has if you're missing any skill positions. And you make a great point because that's the quarterback position is the most important. But to prove that he could make it through a whole season last year, I'm not too worried about that one. It's more the defensive side of the ball that scares me for this team. But like the changes. And we do have our defensive coordinator now, Anthony Weaver, who is in there. He has been with this team. As you mentioned, he's probably going to do some things, 12 years of NFL experience. So I think they'll be okay. I think they're still a playoff team.
So, again, with Miami, they're clearly in this 12-team mix all the way around. They're clearly, at worst, a borderline playoff team. And, again, they've eviscerated bad teams. They struggle against good teams. This is what they've been for 2 seasons now, basically, with McDaniel in charge. You look at their schedule that's on your screen right now, and look, that first 5 weeks with an early bye is pretty manageable, all things considered. Toughest game is a home game, the Buffalo game on Thursday night at home. I know going to Seattle isn't the easiest, but neither of us are particularly high on the Seahawks. I know Tennessee beat them last year, but that was a pretty gigantic fluke in that game. It cost Miami the division when it was all said and done, though.
Yes, it did.
But look, that front end of the schedule is pretty manageable, all things considered. Now, the back end is pretty ridiculous, all things considered, especially starting week 13, where they play teams that I think are either going to be in the playoffs or at least in the playoff chase, and also having to play back-to-back cold weather games to end the season with Cleveland and the Jets also concerns me a little bit. But this would be also another one where I think if they get off to a 4-1 start, that I would look to come play the under at the bye week on their in-season win total. So that might even be better than me waiting for a 10 on them.
Right.
I might even be able to get an 11 and 11.5 if they start off 4-1 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they probably will adjust there. But that is a great point about the end of their schedule
Brutal.
right there. All of those teams are going to be trying to make a push for the playoffs. So that's where we'll really find out about them, if they can beat good teams.
Yeah, that is week 13 through week 18 is really difficult. And it's the Green Bay game is a Thanksgiving game, so short week going to Lambeau as well. Houston, again, I think the Texans are the second best team in the AFC going into the year. And then Cleveland and the Jets. Neither of us are too high on Cleveland, all things considered. But that absolutely could be an elimination game in week 17 for either of these teams with the Dolphins and the Browns. And then the Jets, of course, week 18. That very well could be the final. That could be Sunday Night Football. Someone's playing to get in, and someone is playing to avoid the golf course, at least until a little bit later in the offseason. But for me, the best bet, though, is Miami to miss the postseason is where I'm looking. I know we're opposite there, but I would have looked at plus money on Miami to miss the postseason. I just don't think they're as good as they've shown, at least offensively, and we've seen it against the better competition. Their offense definitely goes backwards against the better competition in the league.
I would say my best bet from these two teams is the Bills under 10.
Okay.
As of right now, minus 110. I think they are 9-win ceiling kind of team this year.
And for Buffalo, it's so weird because you listened to me all last year and say how overvalued they are. I think the market actually has come a little too far the other way. With that said, I wouldn't want to go over 10. I can tell you that. I would be only looking the same way as you there, Alex, on under 10. All right. Tomorrow's New England. Tomorrow's Danny Burke as well here on the show. But before we can get to tomorrow's show, Ryan McCormick's here because Punchlines comes in 2 hours on a Tuesday. Ryan, what you got with Frank? Is Frank? We got to get Frank on the get the names right category yet again.
Yeah, yesterday with the Rudy Rosarena instead of Randy Rosarena. But what did you guys give your thoughts on Keon Coleman today?
He's going to be their number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the biggest thought more than anything. You like him an offensive rookie?
Yes, but it greatly depends on the rest of their offense. So, but
Love
yes.
his clips. Great.
Yeah.
great
Very, very
one-liners,
good character
but I
guy.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, on Punchlines at noon, we've got a couple things from Major League Baseball. Looking at a couple of guys that hit 2 home runs yesterday, and then looking back at something that happened over the weekend. We've got a repeat of a Steve Bartman incident.
Mhm.
Little fun with that one, and then some Pittsburgh Steelers stuff for Frank. So, along with our guest Matt Neverett, play-by-play voice for the UNLV Rebels, as well as the Las Vegas Aviators. So, come by at noon.
As always, Punchlines FN on all social medias and YouTube as well.
Yep.
To follow everything on the show. Been a heck of a week for Frank, for young Frank.
Just a little bit.
Let's just go with that. If you've not seen his the clip from Thursday, not the one that was posted yesterday, but the other one, the more infamous one, with Stephon Diggs, you may want to check that out at all of our socials. We're back tomorrow, Alex. Danny Burke, the usual Wednesday slot, and the New England Patriots. Not as interesting of a team as they've been in the past, but hey, maybe one of those bottom teams provides some value that we're not thinking of at the front of our brains going into the week. We'll see you again tomorrow. This has been Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.